words of our Divine Mother. We are starting with the new book, The Mother by Sri Aurobindo, and the Mother's spoken comments on passages from that book, The Mother. First published in 1928, The Mother is one of the most widely read of Sri Aurobindo's works. The Mother's comments on it were made in 1950 in the course of her regular evening classes at the ashram playground. We have two sets of comments, one given in 1951 and the second one in 1954. These comments do not form a systematic commentary on Sri Aurobindo's works, but are rather explanations of certain passages and phrases and words by our Divine Mother. The Mother usually begins the class by reading out a passage from the book and then commented on it and invited questions from those who have gathered around her at that time. The class consisted of members of the ashram and students of the ashram school. So part 1 of this book contains the text of the Mother, and part 2 the Mother's comments in 1951, and part 3 her comments in 1954. So we are starting with this from today. So part 2, the Mother's comments of 1951, chapter 1 and page number 39. Reject too the false and indolent expectation that the divine power will do even the surrender for you. The Supreme demands your surrender to her but does not impose it. You are free at every moment till the irrevocable transformation comes to deny and to reject the divine, or to recall your self-giving if you are willing to suffer the spiritual consequence, as stated by Sri Aurobindo in the book The Mother. For this, the question by one of the sadhaks: what does an irrevocable transformation mean? For this, our Divine Mother says, the transformation is irrevocable when your consciousness is transformed in such a way that you can no longer go back to your old condition. There is a moment when the change is so complete that it is impossible to become once again what was one before. Next question. Doesn't that transformation itself imply that it is irrevocable? For this, the Mother says that transformation may be partial. The transformation that Sri Aurobindo speaks about here is a reversal of consciousness. Instead of being egoistical and turned towards the personal satisfactions, the consciousness is always turned towards the Mother, the Divine in surrender. And he has explained clearly that the surrender could be partial at first. There are parts in which the surrender and the parts which don't. So it is only when the entire being, integral in all its moments, has made its surrender that it is irrevocable. It is an irrevocable transformation of attitude. Next question. What is the difference between the Divine Shakti and the Divine Power? For this, our Mother says, the Divine Power is only a part of the Divine Shakti. The Divine Power is an attribute of the Divine Shakti. Sri Aurobindo uses the word Divine Shakti here in the sense of Chit Tapas, the creative power, the creative consciousness. Consequently, the Divine Power is only a part of the Shakti. Next stanza. An inert passivity is constantly confused with the real surrender, but out of an inert passivity, nothing true and powerful can come. It is the inert passivity of the physical nature that leaves it at the mercy of every obscure or undivine influence. A glad and strong and helpful submission is demanded to the working of the divine force. Question by the Sadhak: what is a glad and strong and helpful submission? For this, our mother says, do you know what it means to be happy? Do you know what it means to be strong? Do you know what it means to be helpful? Well, the surrender, that is the self giving to the divine, must be happy, joyful, made gladly. It must be strong. One must not give oneself through weakness and impotence, but with an active and strong will. And then the surrender must not remain absolutely indolent. I have made my surrender. I have nothing more to do in life. I only have to remain still. My surrender is made. And it is helpful, that is, it must be active, it must undertake the transformation of the being or do some useful work. Next topic: your surrender. Your surrender must be the surrender of a living being and not of an inert automation or mechanical tool. Mother says you may speak, for instance, of the surrender of your watch. You wind it up and it runs, but this is not a response of conscious collaboration. Next stanza: the transformation must be integral, and integral, therefore, the rejection of all that withstands it. For this, our mother says, that is well understood. It is not enough to have a positive moment, there must also be the negative moment of rejection. For you cannot attain a stable transformation as long as you harbor in your being elements which oppose it. If you keep obscurities within you, they may for a time remain silent and immobile, so well that you attach no importance to them, and one day they will wake up again and your transformation won't be able to resist them. Not only is the positive moment of self giving necessary, but also the negative moment of rejection of everything in you that opposes this giving. You must not leave things like that, buried somewhere in such a way that the first opportunity they wake up and undo all your work. There are parts of the being which know very well how to do this. There are elements of the vital which are extraordinary from this point of view. They keep quiet, hide in a corner, remain so absolutely silent and motionless that you think they do not exist. So, you are no longer on your guard. You are satisfied with your transformation and your surrender. You think everything is going well, and then suddenly, one fine day, without any warning, the thing jumps up like a jack in the box and makes you commit all the stupidities in the world. And it is the stronger one for having remained repressed and closed tight in a corner. It has remained as though buried so as not to draw your attention. It has kept very, very quiet, and the moment you're not expecting it, it springs up, and you tell yourself, oh, what was the good of all my transformation? That thing was there, so it happened. It is just like that, and these things remain there, hide themselves so well that if you do not go looking for them with a well lit lantern, you will not know that they are there till the day they come out and demolish all your work in just 1 minute. Next question: does this happen even if one has a greater aspiration? For this, our mother says the aspiration must be very vigilant. I have known people, many, not only a few. I mean, among those who do yoga, I have known many who every time they had a fine aspiration and the aspiration was very strong and they received the answer to this aspiration every time, the very same day, or the latest the next day, they had a complete setback of consciousness and were facing the exact opposite of their aspiration. Such things happen almost constantly. Well, these people have developed only the positive side. They make a kind of discipline of aspiration. They ask for help. They try to come into contact with the higher forces. They do succeed in this. They have experiences, but they have completely neglected cleaning their rooms. It has remained as dirty as ever, and so naturally, when the experience is gone, this dirt becomes still more repulsive than before. One must never neglect to clean one's room. It is very important. Inner cleanliness is at least as important as outer cleanliness. Vivekananda has written, I don't know the original, I have only read the French translation. One must every morning clean one's own soul and one's own body. But if you don't have time for both, it is better to clean the soul than to clean the body.